Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Open Tabs podcast. I got my main man, Joe Carlos. Joe Carlos, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for asking. And yourself?
I'm wonderful. We got our guy, our man in Amsterdam, not really in Amsterdam, undisclosed location. Chris Lee,
Yes.
smoking the stogie. What's up, man?
Hello, friends.
And I be your brother Calvin Smith. We are we got a variety of things to talk about, but we ostensibly are going to talk about a film tonight. But before we jump there, we want to kind of close one of the tabs we left open for you guys. You see what I did there, and
Nice.
talk about the Super Bowl. It occurred. Joe, you were correct.
Yes, it occurred. Chris was correct as well.
Chris was correct. I was markedly incorrect.
Yes.
In choosing the Kansas City Chiefs. The right team won. Philadelphia Eagles won. Yeah, go ahead.
As this glorious sun shines on my face, as well as the dog's proverbial hind parts, I just want to say the gambler's fallacy stands corrected. I finally picked correctly in that game.
You were due. I will say yes. Yeah, Joe, your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was rent was due, man, and they were just out of money.
Yeah,
Rent was due. They were out of money, out of steam.
They tried to pull that down the steps.
Slash. The Eagles were better coached, better prepared with game plan, in game changes. They were just better in every single aspect of the game, they fundamentally beat the Chiefs down.
Yeah,
in a way that we had not seen, not even in a regular season game.
Yeah.
But also because usually they'll just pull some magic out of somewhere and it's never enough points. And, but the Eagles kept going, man. And they deserve all the accolades, all the discussion, all the talk. It's great, but we moved on. We're at the combine now.
Yeah. Sure.
So no, I'm just saying like the league is, we're at the combine.
Yeah.
But kudos to them and their fans and congratulations.
Yeah.
To a grateful nation for the win. They just in every aspect of the game they were just better.
Yeah. I agree with what you guys said. I'm not going to say too much more except to say that Mahomes was mortal for
quite
the first time, and I mean it's just even different from the time they lost to Tampa. Like it was a bad look. So I don't know what's going to happen with Kansas City now, but at any rate, okay. Moving quite along, today was a pretty big day for news, and unfortunately, the acting world lost a giant this morning. Gene Hackman and his wife and his dog all found dead. The latest news says that they have been dead for quite a while, apparently. Joe, what you are the resident expert, and I mean that in all sincerity and with all honor in terms of the career of Gene Hackman. Can you say a little bit about him?
I think I realized today that he's my favorite actor, and thank you for this opportunity to say something. Like I said, I think I realized today he is my favorite actor. I once heard Gene Hackman just kind of appeared one day. It's kind of like P.T. Barnum. They tell the story about P.T. Barnum. He appeared. He was born as a grown man. I think Gene Hackman is pretty much that way. It's clear he lived a great deal of life before he even saw stardom. And I think it definitely helped to inform all of his performances throughout his life. He's always looked older in every single thing he's done.
Yeah.
And yet it was still the perfect age or still the right pitch. And it's so wild to me as I look back and I just realized like this was a big part of movies of my first real love of film from Superman. There's just so many other roles, but really like Superman, in a comical way as Lex Luthor, and Superman 1, 2, and I guess 3. Oh no, 4 really.
Yeah.
And he was in 3 a little bit too. Sorry, I forgot about that. But it's just so interesting how he evolved with that, and then did so many other things. Won the Academy Award, and was such a beloved character. And as I've mentioned to you and have mentioned on this podcast before, probably my favorite work of his is a tie between Royal Tenenbaum and Avery Tolar from The Firm. And Avery Tolar was just the coolest. I was working in a movie theater in 1993, preparing to go off to college, United Arts Movie Theater in Dallas, UA6. And I probably saw The Firm. I saw The Firm, I don't know, 10, 15 times in the theater. You're just there. You walk in the theater, you sit in the back of the room.
Yeah.
And nobody's tripping, right? But every time he was on the screen, he was mesmerizing. He wore suits that were different than everybody else. He wore Hermes suits, and there's something about it. And when you look back and see him, he's so cool, calm. But he's also, you still see, and he laughs a certain way. Same thing with Royal Tenenbaum. He gives me that 8 years later, and I'll never forget when he's in the scene. And I'm going to wrap this up in just a moment.
You're fine, man.
The scene where Stiller said, where Chaz says, he also stole bonds from my bank account, and the judge looks at him in the mediation. I'm sorry, and Hackman just goes. He just kind of laughs and puts his hands up, like, yeah, maybe I did do that, sure. But he was.
There are no rules, Chazzy.
There are no rules, Chazzy. He was always perfect in every single role that he did. From Little Bill.
Yeah. Oh man.
To Anderson and Mississippi Burning. Yeah. To even President Bryce. Defense Secretary Bryce. I left out absolute power in my even though I love Eastwood films, so don't I love me a good Clint Eastwood film. I'll sit there. They take forever to start and roll and everything, but he was just amazing, man. And it's a tremendous loss, but he lived a full life. It's very unfortunate, obviously, the way that they all died. Yeah. And I don't know what the fact that they're saying, oh, there's no gas leak. Like, how's there no gas? I guess there's no gas left to leak. Yeah. I guess I don't know, but it's just really unfortunate the way he died. But he lived an amazing life on screen. Gave us great performances, and like I said, my favorite is somewhere between Norman Dale, Norman Dale, Avery Tolar, and Royal. Yeah. Somewhere between there. That's 87, 93, and 01. I mean, that's a big swath of time. Not to mention my first introduction to him was as Lex Luthor in 78, 79, right? In 79 as Superman. Yeah. And then later watching The French Connection with my dad. My dad's like, that's Popeye Doyle, man. That's Popeye Doyle. Right. And so it's just he's the best in my opinion. He's my favorite. Yeah. He's my favorite, in my opinion. Absolutely. I know a lot of people are like, you don't like a black guy. Well, sometimes when Denzel talks, we all nerves,
I was gonna say, man, Denzel, we're used to Denzel.
Which speaking of Denzel, of course, one of my favorite movies that he was in was, of course, Crimson Tide. Yeah, absolutely. Even though I personally think the chief of the boat had the best lines. Oh, very fine name, sir, as he responded to all of the call and response questions there. But I actually did not like Gene Hackman for a brief moment, just because of the way he had to talk to Denzel in that movie.
Oh, he was talking dirty to him. He was there. He was nasty.
Reckless.
But no, he was the Lippens horses. I started smoking torpedoes. When we saw that, we were at the. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm so sorry. I just want to.
You're good.
You had a cigar.
Go for it.
But you enjoy a nice stick. I was going to say that. When we were in that movie, I'd never seen torpedo cigars before, and I will never forget. We saw it like twice in a weekend, and we tried to look at the label. We remembered the label, and then we went to like Georgetown Tobacco and bought torpedoes, just like the ones they smoked.
Nice.
It didn't even enhance. It didn't enhance anything. It was like we went back.
That's one of those
the Ashtons and the Cohibas after that. But yes, it was one of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, what's your favorite? I don't want to assume it's Crimson Tide. What's your favorite Gene Hackman?
No, it would be Crimson Tide.
Okay.
You know, through and through, and just the way the acting and him and Denzel, their interactions,
Yeah.
and just about as much realism as they could have added to that movie, just in
Yeah.
disciplinary. Like, yeah, y'all. Although Denzel did the right thing, but I loved at the end how they were both punished, because at the end of the day, you were still supposed to follow the protocol, even if you felt in your gut
Absolutely.
that was blow up the earth, because that
Yeah.
was what you were supposed to do.
Sure. Well, rules have to have teeth. So I totally agree. I love Gene Hackman as well. I always think of my father and how much he enjoyed Gene Hackman, and so I have a slant towards westerns. And Little Bill probably is my favorite. Yeah, man. Little Bill Daggett. Just a hell of a role. I mean, just so strong and yet so so not strong. And insecure and all those kind of things. And
the duck, like, I say.
Yeah.
The duck, I say. Duck of death. Duke. The duck, I say. I'm sorry. The way he said that, like, he's like, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this correctly. I'm gonna say it the way I'm incorrectly reading.
Yeah. And then Royal Tenenbaum. I mean, that film changed my whole life in terms of the way I looked at movies. And oh man, just like my dad used to always want to be called Pappy, and so when he said, "Just call me Pappy,"
just call me Pappy.
Yeah, man. I just I love that film as well. Big loss, huge loss.
Yep.
He had been retired from film for quite a while, but nonetheless,
since Mooseport, right? Since Welcome to
Mooseport. But he left an indelible mark. And the last thing I'll mention about him in terms of Lex Luthor, because you mentioned it, Joe, but like in Superman 2 especially, the way he kind of was trying to manipulate Zod and all, I mean, just I thought they've been trying desperately, Kevin Spacey and then Jesse Eisenberg, and now who is this new guy, I don't even remember his name, Touth or something like that, is going to be playing the role, and it's not going, it's his role. He owns it. I think he owns that role of Lex Luthor more than even like Jack Nicholson or for the Joker or whoever you want to compare it to. It's just amazing. So
Otisburg.
Yeah, Otisburg.
Otisburg.
Miss Tessmacher.
Miss Tessmacher.
And I would just like to know, just generally, to be 95. I mean, I think just longevity of life is just a blessing in general.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
love to see it, as we say.
Yeah, indeed. So, on another bit of sad news, Chris and I and probably quite a few of you that are listening, just a huge loss in our personal lives. Joy Wilson, who's an esteemed professor at Spelman College, and just a wonderful, wonderful person, lost her life along with her fiance, Gary Jones. So Chris, I'll hand it over to you to just say a couple words about her.
Yeah, Joy is an educator. I won't pretend that she was a close friend. I knew Joy. Joy was a very fair mediator in some situations for me. She also introduced me to Saint Germain, the liqueur, and she could work a grill for sure as well. She hosted she hosted me and other people for a barbecue at her home. Just a great overall person, diehard Braves fan. One of the very few people who could actually get me to go out into Atlanta rush hour traffic. It was the Braves St. Louis game. It was the game that was pretty much over in the top of the first inning.
Gosh,
it was that game. I was asked, coerced, coaxed into being the driver to the game, and
Yeah.
Back on 285, I'm getting calls like, you can turn around if you want. It's like, no, y'all are gonna watch the rest of it and pray for a comeback. But
Oh
Joy was
gosh.
an awesome
Yeah.
person, great spirit, truly genuine person, very about as fair as you could ask
Yeah,
anyone to
absolutely.
be. And if you brothers, gentlemen, don't mind, especially since we're going to talk about a movie related to education, if we could just dedicate this episode to Joy.
Absolutely.
God bless
Absolutely.
her
Absolutely.
memory. God bless her family. But Joy is truly an awesome, amazing person.
Yeah, I can't say it any better. I met her at my one of my very best friends, Eunice Moore's wedding. She was one of the bridesmaids that she had gone to get her advanced degree at University of Maryland, and that's where Eunice and Calandra met. And just from day zero, really, she was just a fantastic person. And you mentioned the fact that she was a huge Braves fan. I have that on record because my cousin Mitch probably attended quite a few games with her as well. And I'll never forget two things. One, I had occasion to do some business on the campus of Spelman College a few years back, and I was done with the business, but ran into Joy just happenstance, and she gave me like the best insider tour um, that I had ever had at Spelman College, and that's saying a lot since we all attended school there. But from the educator side of it, she really took care of me on that end. And then finally, my sister, and I don't know how much I can and can't say. I'll probably get in trouble, but they're planning something for my sister at Spelman in upcoming months, and Joy was the person behind that. She called me up to get Shay's information to set that up, and it wouldn't happen without her. She swore me to secrecy until Shay actually confirmed and knew. And like the tone and tenor of our conversation, I knew she would kill me if I had said anything to Shay. So I was left with that, like that being our last conversations, and how she was doing something good and wonderful for our family. That's just the kind of person she was, man. I don't know, Joe, did you have any occasion to know her or know of her? Okay.
No,
Um,
not at all.
yeah. Well, she would be missed dearly. The Mays High family, the Maryland College Park math community, everybody. So the dedication is true and earnest for this episode. And that's a good segue for us to talk about the movie we're going to discuss. So we are going to be talking about the film from 1989, biographical drama directed by John Avildsen. I can never say his name correctly. Great director of these types of films in particular. But starring Morgan Freeman, we're going to be talking about Lean on Me. Fantastic movie. A lot of core memories unlocked from watching this film. Joe, where were you in your life? What was going on? How did you first see this film?
I am a child from a family of educators.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I saw this film was with my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great aunts, Aunt Effie, Aunt Hazel.
Aunt Hazel.
My aunt, yes, my mother's namesake. My mother, my father, my Aunt Sabetha, and we were all and a couple Uncle Jay, Uncle Gillespie, my Aunt Pauline, and all my first cousins in Jackson, Mississippi, at my Aunt Jean and Uncle Richard's house, in Aunt Jean's living room.
Wow.
Okay, and we watched it. Aunt Jean must have rented it from the Jitney Jungle, which was like a Kroger. It's called Jitney Jungle.
Yeah, I'm very familiar. Mississippi.
Yeah, you are. Yes, and she because it wasn't Blockbuster. She rented from the Jitney Jungle, and we watched the film 3 to 4 times in a row.
Wow.
In one day.
Wow.
We just kept watching it over and over again. And I don't understand why we did, but we just kept it was like something out of Groundhog Day. We was like, or not ground, like it was Groundhog Day or a glitch in the Matrix,
Mhm.
seeing the white rabbit go by or something like that. It was just like, what's happening, you know? But
Yeah.
I think it was probably fall, whenever it was out on tape, probably fall '89 or fall '90.
Okay.
But it no, it had to be fall. It was fall '90. It was fall '90. I was in 10th grade because then in the spring, like the spring of '91, I was in drama class, so we would reenact it all the time.
Mhm.
I was constantly reenacting the scenes, but I was in 10th grade. I saw it with my entire family. And when I saw it, we saw it multiple times in one day. And all those educators that were in the room, there were so many educators, probably 14 educators in the room, people who had taught either at college, high school, middle school, elementary,
Mhm.
in some way, shape, or form, or graduate school, were all in that room. And this was a film about education,
Yeah.
and the educators. And so it was a big deal. It was a huge deal. I
Yeah.
cannot overstate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris, you chose this film to talk about. Uh, Talk to us about your journey in watching this.
I did. Now, I was younger when I saw it. I think it was just had the TV on HBO, and it just happened to be the next movie that came on when I was in
Mhm.
about probably third or fourth grade.
Okay.
Uh, and just happened to watch it, and then just continue to watch it throughout the years,
Mhm.
and especially by middle school, because oddly enough, I discover things like after the fact, and so
Mhm.
Benson, the sitcom, was actually one of my favorite sitcoms because BET would show reruns,
This
and
tracks very well.
being one who loves government,
Mhm.
I loved Benson and
Mhm.
just the parallels. I mean, you think about Morgan Freeman and all the roles he's played over time. He goes from high school teacher, kindergarten principal to playing President of the United States and God at some point. But
Mhm. Mhm.
Robert Guillaume, who is also in Lean on Me, but also was the star of Benson, uh, notwithstanding being an underrated actor, but just thinking about the wide variety of roles he just played within that sitcom, he goes from being the butler on Benson to being elected of governor of unnamed state.
Mm.
And so,
Only in the season finale, though. Only in the series
yes.
finale.
Oh, did they? I think
No,
he won. I can't. They never announced a winner.
they
They
never
sure did
announced
not.
it. But I saw a
Yeah,
picture.
man.
I
Governor
just saw a
Gene
picture. Yeah,
Gatling.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But seeing Lean on Me first and then
Mhm.
watching Benson regularly and just seeing there's a huge overlap of character or actors who
Mhm.
ended up in Lean on Me as well, which I'll
Mhm.
get into later
Mhm.
on. And so it made me even more enamored with the movie as well.
Yeah.
Both Benson and Lean on Me had me loving three-piece suits
Mhm.
starting in middle school, and I've loved three-piece suits ever since then. From Morgan Freeman's cream three-piece when he walked into the faculty meeting to,
Obama-esque.
even though he had a dear friend of all of ours who may or may not be a judge in some state,
Uh,
who with Morgan Freeman at his sternum level tie, as we call
yes. Yes.
it.
Yes.
but but it was from youth. It's a movie I watch multiple times a year. It's what for me. It's one of those movies I watch anytime it's on TV
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
Yeah.
quote it through and through.
right.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. 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 Yeah. I caught it on much like you guys, I caught it on not in its theatrical release, but actually on tape. Uh I feel like this is one of the many movies that we rented at Eulis's house, Eulis Moore, the aforementioned
Hmm.
Eulis. And I'm 90% sure I watched it at his house for the first time. And subsequently, have seen this movie a million times. Like you, Chris, I will watch it anytime it's on. I come from a family of educators as well, not quite as prominent as Joe's, you know what I mean, but nonetheless, my mom taught at the school we grew up in, and then later on went to teach at some other schools and taught special education and behavioral particularly. And having gone to a 99.9% Black school and dealing with some of the types of issues, not quite as dramatic or as volatile as this film, but you know, it rang true for us, and was very relatable, in some senses, not in all of them, obviously, but anyway, yeah, I saw it as a kid. Definitely was a staple, and you know it's a staple when you can just start spitting out lines, and then people instantly recognize those lines from the film, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we go there, I want to ask Chris, who are the characters or things that are your unsung heroes in this film? Who do you think needs a little bit more attention?
Unsung heroes. I don't know if Dr. Napier, Robert Young's character as a superintendent, gets enough attention. I get he was doing his job. I'm not sure if I want to give it to that Rajon Rondo looking security guard from Mr. Right.
Yeah, I got some things to say about that, but yeah.
But especially when he just thought he was the big man on campus with Joe Clark introduced. Michael Beach.
Okay.
Coach
Darnell.
Thank you, Coach Mr. Darnell. Just the way he took everything in stride, because but no, he did. Even though he did what I have wanted to do to a former practice group leader, and I if I could do it all over again, I swear I would turn his desk on him too. But that I don't stop talking, but I'm not ready to give it to Miss Levi. So I was disappointed she wasn't strong in the stress. Oh, Mrs. Powers.
Okay.
Mrs. Powers. Like,
talk about Miss Powers.
Because when Morgan Freeman spoke real reckless to her, when Joe Clark spoke real reckless to her when he was asking who changed the school song, and I mean, she leaned back at that piano and just looked at him. Like, her face truly said, "Who are you talking to?" But she didn't say it. But you knew she was thinking it. And but at the end of the day, she was like, "I need this check." No, sir, you did not. And then he turns around. But I feel like because she didn't try to check him like Mrs. Elliott.
Yeah, that was the main difference between her and Mrs. Elliott. Yeah.
That's when it came back around, and he was like, "Congratulations."
That's that understanding of right. Yeah, you rewritten the song. That's that understanding of a black woman and a black man. Indeed. Joe, who are your unsung heroes? Who do you?
I mean, it's to me, it's got to be Miss Levias and because Principal Levias, even though they had a lot of strong sexual tension,
they did
between them, and I can't, and then Clarence.
Yeah. Clarence, talk about Clarence.
Clarence is just amazing.
That's a great
Clarence
one.
is amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing throughout the whole film.
Yes, he is.
Unfortunately, we don't see Clarence really in anything again.
No.
He's kind of like Buddy from 227. I can't think of his name. Calvin from 22. Oh, sorry, of course, Calvin from 227. Like we just don't see, but Clarence had a magnetism, and he had a magnetism. I think that was he was free for. He wasn't a bad student. Wasn't a bad kid.
No,
like that.
Class
clown, carefree, smart though. Smart and all that kind of stuff. So I really I liked all of his scenes.
Yeah.
Everything, even when he's like, "Gotcha," when they got him. and then later at the very end, of course, he restored. And the wild thing to me about it, and the reason I mentioned Clarence is because the way my mother loved this character, as I'm sitting here in front of with my grandmother, my great grandmother, and all my great aunts, and I'm sitting here, and this guy says, "Let the old witch,"
Yeah.
And everybody's laughing, and I'm looking like, now let me get this straight. You all have no problem with this kid in a movie disrespecting this grown black woman. But if I say something to any woman in this room right now, I'm gonna be through a window and then getting beat down outside in that backyard, possibly, or at least thrown through a window, right? So and this is like with no hesitation and no joke. So not that I would, but I'm just saying, like, you don't mind disrespect on the screen, but you just mind it in person. So anyway, long story short, I love Calvin. And also Miss Levias. Sam's not so much, but definitely Calvin and Miss Levias, and then I like Kanisha. I like Kanisha was great.
You like Kanisha?
I like Kanisha.
Yeah.
I like Kanisha. Because
That was his day one.
Kanisha was just, that was his day one, and
She gave him some credibility.
she did, and there was something about her. Also, I like the girl who later was in Crash, playing Michael Pena's wife, who was like, "Everything is for the black kids. This is for the black." I don't know her name, but she was in 187.
Louisa.
She was in Colors.
Louisa.
She was in Colors,
Mhm.
187, and so many other things. I'm from Dallas. I
Yes.
have no understanding of the fact they were like Puerto Rican. Like in my mind, or I'm guessing Puerto Rican, just Latino or Latinx. Let me just say Latinx. Because in my mind they were probably Mexican American, but it's like New Jersey to me. So, but when she was saying everything's for the black kids, that's the same. I promise you, it's the same. She was in Crash, she was in 187, she was in Colors, she was in so many.
Yeah,
she was in countless films.
Yeah,
to me, I liked how she was always like fighting for something good and right.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
You know, I know this isn't supposed to be crossfire, but the one thing that rubbed me wrong with Kanisha was it was in that initial assembly when he comes in. Mr. Clark don't play this echoing throughout all the room. Now he's already angry. I'm like, just on general principle, somebody should have just snatched her up, thrown her out. But
I think that was like a bad. That was just a horrible. They just had to get her another line.
Yeah,
and I think it was like. To your point, that should have been edited out. Like we don't need that.
Yeah.
But to Calvin's point, it was credibility. You said, "Hey, baby," she said, "Baby." Remember that girl said,
"Yeah." All right. I got to tell you,
my elementary school principal.
Like for me, honestly, I got so much secondhand embarrassment from her character. I got things to say about Karen Molina White as a whole, but
bless her. Go to IMDb. Go to IMDb right now.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Check it out.
For me, my unsung, Joe, I know you don't like Sam's. Sam's was my guy.
I did not like Sam's.
Well, you kind of had you were like,
Sam's he just gets on my nerves.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't not like him. I don't not like him.
I think the things that got on your nerves for you probably were the things that I just love about him, man. From beginning to end.
I got nothing but love for Sam's. I got nothing but love for Sam's.
I felt he was forced to overact a bit, especially, once he turned around, he's back at school and he was heading out of the bathroom. He's like, "Nice suit, Mr. Clark," and all that.
Again,
get back.
They work with John Avildsen is working with what he's got.
Yeah,
this isn't Johnny Lawrence.
That's not on him as an actor.
Yeah,
that wasn't on him as an actor. I felt like they had him overact that.
Yeah,
I mean,
just but like it's not a documentary. It's not a documentary.
It's not a documentary, so.
I think they were just still trying to say he was a jokester kid, like he was having fun.
I actually thought what he did was kind of realistic in terms of like trying to play it off.
Yeah. That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's kind of like as we look at it now in hindsight, like, did I really say that stupid stuff when I was that age and thought I could get away?
You did, I'm sure. Like, and here's the thing, like with Sam's, like from his whole through line through the movie, man. Like, you see him buying crack from old boy in the very first scene, right? He's thrown off the stage unceremoniously, and you don't really know, what I mean? Like, expurgated. Yeah, man. A wonderful vocabulary of Joe Clark.
Yes.
So, but he's thrown off. By the way, right behind Joe Clark in that scene is a young Michael Imperioli. I know.
I wanted you to have that. I wanted you to have.
Thank you for giving me that. But like, so there's that part, and then he comes begging back to be. He got nowhere else to go now. A real crackhead. It's probably on that rock. Pretty hard and doesn't care anything about it, but nonetheless. He gets back into school and Joe Clark's talking dirty, like greasy to him. Like, you smoke crack, don't you?
Took him on the roof.
Do it expeditiously. You know what I mean? Like just all that kind of stuff. And then, then you find out that his cousin is one of the singers, the members of the group Riff, who changed the song along with Miss Powers. You know what I mean?
Thank you for the Riff reference.
Yeah. And we'll definitely circle back there.
Eastside.
Yeah. And then, like at the end, the words that he has to say about who Joe Clark is and what he means to him, like when he's, They're
We
trying
don't
to.
want to. We don't
Yeah,
want
we
to.
don't want. All right, we want Mr. Clark. We don't want a good
We
principal.
don't want a good principal.
We want Mr. Clark.
But I understood.
Yeah,
Because
we
they were
know.
like,
We
"That's
all knew
right,
what he
baby."
meant. Yeah,
And my auntie's like, "That's right, baby. That's right."
yeah.
We'll get to that entire the breakdown of that scene
I cannot wait.
later.
So, and then just as a like the realism of the school itself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about like how they transition, and maybe this is a better point for the little things. So I'll start out with the little things.
Sure, go.
Get it over, but the little things for me were like how well they handle how a real school functions, how it looks and transitions from 1967 when Joe Clark is initially teaching high school in an innovative and fantastic way, all white class, in his dashiki.
Yeah, when you brought the dashiki out, I was like, this is actually brilliant.
And
Costume design award goes to Calvin Smith.
Thank you. And so from there to like the dilapidation that occurs and the transition there was a wonderful transition.
The editing on that, the sound effects editing on that, and the time lapse and all that was brilliant.
Yeah,
it was, and when you go back and watch it, you're like, "Oh man!" Because when you first, we all said we were younger, we were kids, right? Yeah. But when and then as an adult, like realizing now what must have happened and how much just decline and decay, benign neglect must have happened over time, and yet there are still teachers there, and teachers still teaching classes, and all that stuff. There.
And Joe Clark cursed him when he left. He was like, "You deserve whatever happens to you." But like, so then like the structure of that or not structure of that school and how it was, and then to have a hard disciplinarian come in, change the entire culture. I've seen it happen to schools. I've seen it happen to schools in real time, where from one principal to another principal, they whip it into shape. It lends so much credibility now. And again, it's exaggerated because that's what a movie has to be. But I thought that, the realism of how the structure of a school and the teachers that, give a damn versus the teachers that don't really give a damn versus the ones that are very good at one thing, not quite good at the others. And you can recognize like Miss Elliott, like she's got this
her zeal for Mozart.
Yeah, exactly. She's got the kids performing at a high level, right? But her goals and mission are completely oblivious to whatever the rest of the school is doing. She could care less. You know what I mean? And Joe Clark recognized that, and honed in on it and got her to finish herself, as it were. So I thought that the realism and the little aspects of the school were the little things for me. Chris, what little things stood out for you in the film?
Oh, where do we begin? So at the very beginning, at the beginning, it was once the school transitioned, I guess it was at the point of the 80s. When there was that fight going on, when the fight initiates right before they slam the teacher's head into the ground. If you notice, when he was talking about the cages in the cafeteria, when that fight starts, the cages slam down. I was like, wow.
This ain't their first rodeo.
They're like, yeah, let's shut it down. Other things, just Morgan Freeman's accent, even though the real Joe Clark was from Rochelle, Georgia, but he didn't really have a pronounced Southern accent by that point in his life. But I always laugh when he's going over the vocabulary with his students when he was teaching there in the 60s. And my favorite part of that, Imbrew. I-M-B-R-A.
Yeah.
When he said R, like I fell out laughing at that point.
Mississippi.
Like you couldn't take the Mississippi out of Morgan Freeman.
No, not 89. Not 89. Now he's on A-list.
Yeah.
Now he's beyond it now.
And as he's walking through, he's gently touching each of the students.
I never forget the light touch. The light touch. That has just stuck with me since the first time I saw it.
Yes. Yeah. Because he was truly invested in his students, regardless of what they look like. And he was like, "I'm here to change."
And they loved him. It was kind of like
they did.
It was to serve with love.
It had those elements to it. I agree. Yeah.
Reverend Slappy in that first faculty meeting, like I know Reverend Slappy didn't walk in there with rust, food, motor oil stains on his shirt, as the infamous Memphis parody pointed out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh
yeah. The PTA meeting that he had shortly after that meeting,
first day of school, yeah.
That old school black that now sit down every time Mrs. Barrett would say something, and she was, hey, now sit down. Because I was like, where are they finding all of these Southern people in New Jersey? Because, you know, I've heard that. And then also in that same meeting, when he said, one bad apple spoils a bunch. My favorite part was that parents, my son ain't no bad apple. I was like, he probably was if he got thrown out, given what we saw at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
When he was mad about the school song being changed by Riff, when they sang it in the bathroom, it's like, who taught you that? But when he's walking Sam's in that, and all of them with him, but he slams Sam's into the piano.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you hear all the keys
manhandling him.
I was like, you would have been fired and prosecuted in this day and age. And then finally, when he goes to Kanisha's mom's house, when he pulls up, I don't want to call the brand of the car wrong. I'm not a car guy. I'm not going to pretend to be one today. But I was like, all right, Mr. Clark, you look like you part of the community too. But
yeah, that's a black principal's car.
But not that. But it's not that part. It's when he's walking and he gets. I guess he had to walk downstairs to go in, and just as he gets downstairs, the pumpkin dropped.
Oh yeah, somebody threw a broken. Yeah. That was a great detail. Yeah.
But yeah, and then he looks up like, I know y'all didn't just throw a pumpkin at me.
Yeah, that was a good catch. That was a good catch. Joe, what little thing stood out to you, man?
I just like the relationships, interpersonal relationships among the characters, the cultural understanding for most of the characters.
Yeah.
Also, so cultural understanding for specific characters. The mayor and the fire chief, they had a cultural understanding.
Yes,
definitely. Candyman and Joe Clark. They had an understanding about how they were going to try to protect everything. But it was also interesting to me too. Like, he just decided to make all these changes. There was really no explanation of how any of these things were being paid for. The paint, the t-shirts, the extra resources and things. But I'm guessing he was getting them from Napier. And so I think there's like 4 scenes that are missing here. That if they were added these 4 scenes and like one, like, hey, I got to make these changes. I can't do it on nothing. Like, what can you help me out? Yeah, and then he gets some money for it. But other than that, that's a nitpick. I'll come back to that. I apologize. But other than that, I really love the picture behind me. Which you can barely see, but the picture behind me obviously is probably one of the finest 2 minutes of acting, 2.5, 3 minutes of acting.
Absolutely.
3 minutes and 49 seconds.
3 minutes and 49 seconds of acting that you will ever see among 2 actors, period. Anywhere.
Yeah.
And
I have a story for that.
Okay, wonderful.
But yes.
And so this right here, to me, that's a little thing because, and I don't want to step on your story later. Just the entire conversation is representative of these conversations within the Black community.
Yeah.
And then the ending reminds me so much of our relationships, and we all went to the same college, of our relationships at Morehouse College.
Yeah.
And at their absolute best, is that this is literally the type of discussion where we can disagree, we can respect each other's opinion, and we can move on amicably or try to find a solution.
Absolutely.
And so to me, that's one of the little things that it showed people that you can do this, even if it's in a movie.
Just as a quick point, I know this isn't Crossfire. I only disagree about it being a little thing. That is a major thing to me, and I want to come back to that when.
We'll talk about it now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, to me, that scene was the epitome of not only friendship but Black male friendship.
Yeah,
that's why it's not a little. That's why it's not a little thing to me. I have a friend of mine I do political consulting with in Huntsville. We hash it out just like that all the time in a conference room. We go get something to eat afterward. But even more specific to that, as you mentioned, our alma mater, I'm going to bring back to me and Joe had one of those moments when we were in school
Ah,
at a Burger King drive-through on what street was Burger King? Was that North Side or Fair Street?
Burger King's on the north side.
And on North Side. And when I tell you
Yeah.
the situation, it was about a Senate bill
Ah, yes.
that I wanted to push through. And Joe said, "What are you doing this morning?" I said, "Well, I'm not doing anything." And it was about 10.
Uh-huh.
And I remember we get in this car. It was probably one of the more colorful conversations. And I mean, HBO probably wouldn't have been able to air it. Even Bernie Mac would have said, "Y'all doing too much." But I mean, we were going and took a quick break so Joe put in the order for the breakfast before breakfast ended at Burger King. But I mean, we're just what are you this is why we should do. You're doing this. No, this is why it's right. This is why you're right. I mean, we're just hashing it out.
Yeah.
We carried on through good portion of the early afternoon. Now, although we didn't come to a full agreement, it's like, let's just get something to eat. I didn't hate him. He didn't hate me. We knew it was just truly an honest disagreement about what we both thought was best for the college. I knew he wasn't coming at me hating me as a person, and he knew I wasn't coming at him hating him as a person. It was just a very passionate disagreement.
Two passionate people
about an institution we both love very deeply to our cores.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
I mean,
and I just felt like, especially when they hash out, like most people say, "Oh, they hate each other." It's like, no, they were what is it that the kids say these days? Two things can be right.
Yeah.
And we're like, we've aired our differences. I understood where he was coming from, and in this case, I hope Joe understood where I was coming from. And I was like, it's not personal, but we're just going to disagree. But it's not that trite sweep under the rug, disagree to disagree. Let's understand where each person is coming from.
Sure.
And like, okay, I know you're not on foolishness. I still disagree, but I know you're not on foolishness. Yeah, I just want you to know and understand my position on it. And it gets heated, it gets loud, might get colorful. but it truly builds respect for one another.
One would argue that like until you really have a good argument with your friend, you really kind of don't know each other. You know what I mean? Or a disagreement of some sort, or come to loggerheads. It's not the real good friends have these kind of blowouts every now and again, and it's okay. It might be even a part of that dynamic. Now, this is not to say every friendship should be like that, but certainly it is one of the things that happens. I mean, this just happened to me at my job. We had a big blowout between some of the big dogs in the clinic. And, afterward, me and one of the principals involved in it, we came to a wonderful understanding right after yelling at each other and being in each other's faces. And, it is what it is. And I think that scene, to Joe's point, illustrated that very, very, very well, and showed that, because, again, some people don't think it's possible to have a disagreement without there being ill feelings afterward. Like, you can definitely have a disagreement and that be that, especially if it's a principled discussion, which is what they had. Both of them came with excellent points. Both of them, had really strong things to say that were relevant. And so, I thought that was perfectly illustrated there.
And I would just like to add, as much as they're passionate, they never took it personal.
Yeah.
They kept it on topic.
Yeah.
Same way Joe and I did. And that's why I say that is truly one of those things that will truly strengthen your friendship.
Well, like my old blog used to be titled "Water Under the Bridge." That's what happens there. So from that standpoint, then kind of leads into Joe, what are your scenes that you enjoy the most outside? I guess we talked about this one. Is there another scene that stands out to you?
I like when he talked to Kid Ray.
Yeah.
I love when he talked to Kid Ray because he just showed his tenderness.
Yeah.
And which is rare in the film. And I was going to go over, Eber gave this 2.5 stars. I don't think he could understand it in 89.
No.
But it was, and his concern was more so about Morgan Freeman's character never softened, never didn't have the redemption arc. um, and didn't show how he did the things that he did supposedly, or
Sure.
how they prevailed. But I love the any tender moments he has. The one with Kid Ray, the one when he's talking to obviously when he goes to Kanisha's house and he's
Yeah.
concerned,
Yeah.
and they're trying to handle it on the home life level. Let's go to the root source of the issue
Mm-hmm.
here, and I really love that scene, those two scenes uh, specifically. And then my third favorite scene is in the gym when he jokes with them
And doing double dutch and
yeah,
everything.
yeah. When
Yeah.
Clarence is doing, yeah, and he does the double dutch out of nowhere. Obviously, there's a missing
Yes.
scene. There's got to be a missing scene in there where he just changes his whole thing, other than Miss Levias yelling at him, and maybe that was with it. And they were like, well, she yelled at him in the hall, and she explained she stood her ground, and maybe that's when he just decided to change. You know what I mean? I don't know. I
Yeah.
would think there's like a scene with him and like Dr. Napier, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Man, I'm trying to do all this and then trying to do all that, and I don't know, what's going on." And then he comes back and he's nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. No, I agree.
That double dutch scene was another small little things moment that just that their chat. You know, I can't even. I can hear the rhythm of it. You know, talk about Joe Clark, Eastside High.
Yeah.
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 OECL.
Hey, come on, Sam, stay
And
with
poor
it.
Sam's. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's my favorite part, actually. Yeah.
Seeing Sam's fall over.
Wait,
Yeah.
school starting at 8:45. I so wish high school would have started at 8:45. I would have been on time every day.
Mine was 8:15, 3:15.
We had 0 period. So yeah.
I had detention for being late to homeroom 3 times.
So hard, especially when
I
you're
got in-house
homeroom.
suspension. I had in-house suspension for missing so many detentions and the detentions were from being tardy. So I had in-house suspension as the student body president. And after I finished my homework for the day, I was like, "What else am I supposed to do?" They're like, "You can apply to college." So I applied to Howard, Hampton, and Dillard that day.
But not class. To paraphrase AI, not class. Not class. Homeroom. We're talking about homeroom.
Yeah, on time, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right.
But yeah, that was me. That was my favorite scene. Those are my favorites.
Yeah. Chris, what's your favorite scene in the film?
Favorite scene is the Joe Clark, Dr. Napier in the empty school board hall.
Sure. Okay.
Where you know, they're having that exchange. Now, second favorite scene is where Joe Clark is in the jail cell and the mayor comes down to him, and you know, you have the true male pissing contest. Sorry if children are watching, but you're having that contest there. And then where finally the mayor looks at him and shoots him the ultimate straight. He said, "You know what? That's all your kids outside." And nobody's gonna get hurt but them because I have law and order on my side. And he thinks about it. And I don't think he necessarily backed up. He did it for the protection because at the end of the day, he knew, yeah, I'm right. I can be right and have them jacked up, or I can just step out here for a moment. And that wasn't weakness. That wasn't backing down. It was truly protecting the people he loved. And I thought that there are so many applicable lessons even to this date, but I that one is truly one that sticks to me. When especially absolutely. The mayor comes says, "I have law and order on my side."
My two favorites, they both were fairly close to the beginning of the film. First one is when Joe expurgates the people from the school. Yeah. I just thought that was just so perfect. I mean, you know, the kids and like some of the kids are asking, "Why can't I be on stage?" You know what I mean? Like
right. Like, why do you want to be up there? Like everybody, it's always like everybody wants to be a part of something. It's like that's not what you want to be a part of. But
yeah. And you know, the guy that kept coming to the microphone, like, you know, the guys rapping on the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is probably the most inappropriate little things, of course. And I'm sorry because I forget. There is a little quote in Juvenile Childish Me. Appreciated that at about the fire chief throwing him out, but he said it out the parking lot. But I digress. But the other one, being childish, when he's on the rap, he's trying to rap. who's got the crowd?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
juvenile me thought that was beyond amusing.
No, I mean, like we used to have the class clowns that would do stuff like that, especially if your school was a bad, quote unquote, bad school, like
Yeah.
Camp Creek Middle School or whatever. And then the other one is the initial meeting that Joe Clark has with the staff. You know, and you know, it has taken on a life of its own now because
my
of,
word is law.
Yeah, but that scene on its own merits is incredible. It stands on its own. But then, you know, I remember where I was when I first saw the T Money So Funny spoof. That if Lean on Me was in Memphis Part 1, and I was in the barbershop where all memes generally are born. And at my particular barbershop, we have a television screen where they like connected to a phone. They can play YouTube videos on the TV screen, and I was like on constant replay with Rashard and Johnny and Rob and everybody and Teddy, like constant replay. So funny. And, you know, in my proximity to, I get that like some of it is lost on people who don't have a lot of proximity to Memphis. But when you live in Nashville and everybody Maine and you know, that kind of thing, man, it was so funny and still is so funny. Just all the little jokes, every little aspect of that remade scene. And there's a couple more that he did. He did one with the girl, with Levias in the hallway talking to Joe Clark. But none of them ever top, you know, he's like, oh, baseball fighty field. all those kind of like, you know, like those things are so funny, man. So funny to me. But that scene in and of itself was still great. You know, him calling Coach Darnell out, you know, yeah, just the whole thing.
Mr. Darnell, stand up.
Yeah, man. Like just the whole, and because again, I've been in those kind of meetings where that kind of thing has to go down. And I've seen it happen, you know, at the schools that I attended. So those were my scenes. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
And can I add a small? I hate to circle back. I just remembered another little thing when you mentioned that scene. It was with Mrs. Elliott, who she tipped you off from the start that she was never going to cooperate with him. He said, "I want the name of every biscuit." Oh no! And she just drops her pencil, rolls her eyes like, whatever. And as a quick side note about that, I don't know if, well, I'm sure y'all did. Vice Principals on HBO.
Yeah,
there was a lady who was just as cantankerous on it, Mrs. LeBlanc. And I was like, there is something familiar about her. And I looked it up at the time, and it was Robin Bartlett, who was Mrs. Elliott. And Lean on Me.
Okay.
And I'm sure like, knowing Danny McBride, he's definitely seen Lean on Me.
Yeah.
And that was not an accident.
She had that same energy, and I'm like, this energy looks familiar. She looks similar. It was like if Mrs. Elliott kept teaching. It was wild.
I also, you know, the Mrs. Elliott thing is so interesting to me too, because she still wanted more for the kids. I think in their own way, I think everybody's trying to do good. Yeah, it's just defined in a different way.
Yeah.
Now, but if you put blinders on in comparison to bigger issues, so which is really essentially the argument that Napier and Clark were having too. He's like, you know, they can't hold a job because they don't have basic skills.
The minimum basic
skills. And if we think about it, I remember later thinking about it, I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what is this? Like, it's not Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver is the AP math exam. Right?
That's high level. This is
not that at all.
Yeah.
And that's a specific group of students who were trying to study for an AP math exam. And we all know that's only for like 3 credits for college. Like, I don't even know what the AP math exam is, how that was going to help them succeed in life. If looking back on it, I hate to be that guy working in higher education. Like,
it's just going to stratify them. That's all.
But true, as they, you know, and the vast majority of Californians go to California state schools. They do, right? Yeah. So maybe you just get out of a class that you didn't have to take or whatever because you passed, because Lou Diamond Phillips made a 5, and I knew he was going to get a perfect score on that thing because I knew he was a brilliant one because I knew it. Yeah. I would love to do Stand and Deliver, by the way, too. So, but nonetheless, I'm selling to say it's like this was a test of like just the simplest, the lowest level of
Yeah.
can you function as a human in the world?
Yeah. It's like The
Speaking of,
Wire. It was like that season of The Wire.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
it was exactly like that. Very well informed, I'm sure, because I'm sure Simon has seen Lean on Me more than once.
oh yeah, absolutely.
As well.
It's all derivative.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Chris.
And speaking of little things that I can't remember, if it's a practice. Yeah, it was a practice test when he was going around. He was looking at each student. Somebody marked something that was so blatantly wrong, and I just remember.
He was.
But what I appreciated was that it was still sticking by test protocols. Like he was like, but he didn't tell them it was wrong or try to hint it was wrong.
No,
he just knew he couldn't say anything. And I appreciate
mess up big, so because then we got to go up.
But I appreciated that they still maintained the integrity of the test. It wasn't like, he's going to shade it to where they get it right.
Yeah.
But
much like in so like in Stand and Deliver, when they get the two educator the educator consultants got to come in, the investigators got to come in. One of them was what's my man's name from he was on Baywatch, and he was in he was the minister, and he was on
Greg Allen Williams.
Yeah, Greg Allen Williams. Greg Allen Williams comes in to try to check to see if their AP scores were right. Like, come on, man, stop.
Yeah,
stop. Or summer school, or even summer school. In summer school, when they don't believe that in the movie, in the great Mark Harmon film Summer School, where they don't believe in the grades, and they got to go prove that they actually did well and learned something that summer.
Yeah. Well, Atlanta Public Schools knows a little bit about that, but I digress.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Joe, your favorite topic, the nitpicks. Let's talk about them.
I jumped the gun.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know how this is funded, and the real world, Joe. The real world in me is like, how are we paying for the paint to redo things? How are you paying for a security force? A brand new security, like you have added to the staff. Okay. You have added 10 to 20 people to the staff.
And that certainly wasn't top flight security either.
No, but you have added 10 to, those
are Brooks Brothers Blazers.
Yes. John Avildsen. John Avildsen. So it's like, well, I don't quite understand what's going on here. I just didn't understand that, Calvin and Chris. That part made no sense to me. Also, like I said, we're missing like 4 scenes. We're missing some redemption arc scenes that just we don't get. And that's a nitpick for me because it's such an about face. And I'm thinking that they were like, look, hey, Beverly Todd in that hallway, Beverly Todd, she delivered that. She delivered that thing.
Yeah.
You will listen to me. You will sit there and you will listen to me, damn it.
Yeah.
I remember my aunt saying, she liked him. That's all that was. She
Yeah.
Okay. So, but because of that, I guess they didn't give us the scenes where he's having the reflective moment and really looking at how hard everybody's working. They give us in the montage. This is a montage. They love the montages. In this, right?
Yeah.
So,
that's a John Avildsen staple.
Yeah. So Johnny Roast Beef, the Midnight Commandant, the Midnight Commandant from Goodfellas, he's teaching math, tetrahedrons and cylinders and things like that to Sam's.
Good
catch. Yeah, thank you. And
can I just say, I never had a teacher draw one of those on a chalkboard ever. I
did.
But it also went into what Miss Levias was saying. Like, these teachers care. Like, they're here. These are their kids too. Like, they care. They wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here if they didn't care.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but
that's an underrated scene. That's an underrated scene.
I love that scene. I love that scene. But anyway, I don't know how it was all done. I don't know, like, what did they do that they didn't do before? Did they not take it seriously before? Was it kind of like The Wire when they're just going to teach the test? And no one was really teaching the test.
Pitman.
Exactly. All the dings are right here. All the dings are right here.
That was my man Calvin.
Yeah. All the dings right here. So that's what. Anybody quick questions? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, aside from that, I think another nitpick for me was just the timeline was kind of weird.
Yeah.
As well. And I understand we're doing a school year, so that pumpkin drops down, lets you know, oh, it's October. And then later some things are getting better in the school, and you see that president. I can't remember. I think his name was Robert, but you see him.
Yeah.
And he's like, they show off something like, thank you for the alumni. We really appreciate the alumni. He's like the
when
one
they do the
guy.
Passaic Falls, they make Passaic Falls.
Yes.
Yeah, the Passaic Falls.
With a very nice line on model train.
Yes, it was, but it was part from the alumni. Thank you for alumni, right? So that was really cool. And then they go through.
Like it's a collegiate thing.
It looks a lot like actually Eastside, because they shot at Eastside. Eastside looks a lot like Little Rock Central, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
It looks
like
that's a
great
lot
point.
like in Little Rock Central inside. It's kind of, and I want to look back and see like, were they built around the same time? But minus the the 5,000 steps to get up into Little Rock Central. But I'm talking about inside. It's very reminiscent. But anyway, one other nitpick for me was Chris mentioned the ties. I could not understand for the life of me why Morgan Freeman's ties could never get beyond like the fourth button. It's like Morgan Freeman. Like you all spend all this money on this entire like you can't get a tie for this man that goes to his belt buckle like that. It just got on my nerves. That got on my nerves. I just want to say one of the things that I loved that I learned. It wasn't a favorite scene, but it was a thing in the scene. Always check to see who's in the stalls. I mean, if somebody's in the stalls.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I love that.
I love stuff like that.
Because
RoboCop, so many movies.
Always check to see. So because when Rosenberg is like sitting up there with Pete from Benson, when Pete is sitting up, Pete's sitting up with the legs up and the newspaper there. Yeah. It's like it's really interesting. But even with the information, they weren't fully prepared.
I forgot him as one of my unsungs, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Even though he did have a line, it's like, I thought you people didn't like chains.
And so I wanted to, okay, that's a great segue to my nitpicks. Okay, so first of all, a lot of overt racism, overt. Like I thought you people, blah, blah, blah. The chief, the fire chief, like just incorrigible. It was disgusting. Yeah. But at any rate, and in the fact that like even Lynn Thigpen, like Miss Barrett, like he says this stuff in front of her, like just the most disgusting.
She got enough of it at one point. It's kind of like in what was it? Dang on, not 25th Hour. It's kind of like in what is that film? Not 25th Hour. What's the Mekhi Phifer Spike movie?
Oh, Clockers.
When he says, "I'm getting tired of that yo's." Like he'd heard enough.
That part.
She'd heard enough of that at that point. Yeah.
That part.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Calvin. Go ahead.
No. You're good. And so the other thing was like, and it just bear with me because like I need to know backstory on characters, and I need to know like why, who's what. So like in the opening scene where the guy comes in, he meets the drug dealer.
Yeah.
Pops the very well dressed drug dealer. By the way, I'm like. So, he's still in the. This guy's still in the high school.
And the other guy's in the Canadian tuxedo, by the way. But I digress.
He looked like he was driving the S class in the 80s.
Yeah. And so he's in the school, just like handing out bullets, handing out like crack, handing out needles.
It couldn't be worse. It could not be worse.
Everything and a pistol. And the one with the test.
And the bullets for the pistol. And it's never seen again. We don't see this guy ever again. Right.
That's why you had to change the doors. Yeah, that's why.
I agree, but then so the drug dealer though, like the guy in my head, I don't know if this is ever made clear, but in my head, that was Miss Barrett's son. That drug dealer, was Miss Barrett's son.
I like that theory.
And the reason
which makes her even more, even more wrong.
Well, no, wait. Is it the one who was going to the Air Force or the other one?
No, the one that came in and beat up
Kid Ray and had the knife and tried to fight Joe Clark
and got hit with the bullhorn. Well, Joe Clark has some skills, by the way. But
I'm waiting for this old man.
Yeah,
that guy.
Wasn't he the same one? I'm going to the Air Force, man. I'm going to the Air Force.
Maybe he did say that. Maybe he did say that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
On stage, he said.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Maybe so. We're talking
about so. That is him. That is him.
Mm-hmm. He's standing there with Michael Imperioli.
In my eyes, that's Barrett's son.
Okay, you know I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing. Yeah,
that makes her vitriol and everything, but also the fact that she's raising this terrible human being,
degenerate,
exactly. But I've seen so many instances of this where somebody is a stand-up, like a leader in the PTA or whatever, and their kid is atrocious. Their kid is horrible, and they spend more time talking about what other parents should be doing and what other people should be doing, and their kid is a mess. But I digress. And last thing for me, nitpick wise, and I know, like I read up a little bit about like John Avildsen. He had some issues. Like Michael Imperioli apparently had a horrible experience with him. Like, and it was like if he had not been in Goodfellas with Scorsese later, he may not have gone on to the career he had, because like John Avildsen was apparently very mean to these child actors. But that being said, Karen Molina White, man, like I just, the secondhand embarrassment that she gives throughout the film, it's cringeworthy. The little things she says, and I know there are kids out there that do that. You know what I mean? The enthusiastic kids that have a little something to say about every little thing. You know what I mean? But like for me, it bled into her other roles. So when she was Charmaine, on the Cosby Show in A Different World, and even when she was on Malcolm and Eddie and all this kind of thing, like I just, she never quite jive right for me until, to Joe's point, her IMDb, yeah, I get it. She's yeah. But for a long time, it took me a long time to be able to be okay with her, man. And so those were my little nitpicks. What about you, Chris? You have any nitpicks?
So one, Mrs. Barrett, which Lynn Thigpen, whom I love, and first was introduced to as a chief from Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. I'm like,
huge core memories.
I can't believe y'all made me dislike the chief from Carmen. Where in the World is Carmen San Diego
made
for a
you
moment.
dislike the chief. She made you dislike herself.
She's a hell of an actress.
So as a nerdy Politico, I never understood how she got appointed to the school board. Like, was there already existing vacancy? Because she's like, appoint me to the school. Like, how does she have that kind of flex on the mayor? I'm like, now, if your son, your son, just got thrown out of school, where's your constraint of flex to flex on
put you in charge of anything?
To flex on Alan North like that.
Good old Alan North. Yeah.
Let's be clear. And so now she's on the school board, all that. Yeah. Yo, vote on this, but whatever. Okay, I got to give that a shout out. Shout out to the touch on little things real quick. Shout out to the gentleman who said, I said that with that very fine camel hair blazer on. there were some very well dressed parents in that crowd.
Yeah, there was a guy like behind him, like, yeah. He's like,
I said that. When she was, you insulted the black football, because I guess he said no. He looked like, I used to play football. Like, no, they lose it for real. Like, I said down. The other little things, as much as Joe Clark was big on education, I didn't understand why when he was angry, it was all of a sudden important to learn the school song in English and in Spanish. I'm like, now you just got mad at Mrs. Elliott about Mozart. Like, what good is learning Fair East Side in Spanish going to do for anyone? So I felt there was a handful of times where he kind of showed a few things where he got mad at one person for doing something, but I was like,
well, that's what we call being a hypocrite, and he very much was a hypocrite.
And then the other thing where
he was the definition of hypocrite. Yes,
he and Ethan Phillips, Mr. Rosenberg, the school board attorney, where he was out in the hall with Mr. Rosenberg, I want you to meet some of my white students, and then he makes them sing the 4-part harmonious quartet.
Mr. Clock. Mr. Clock.
Because I was like, now I get Fair East Side changed its tune, but I was like, I don't think it was meant to be sung in 4-part harmony officially. But
everybody ain't riff.
Like they had to. You're right. And I was like, that didn't really make sense. And he was like, y'all need to work on it. I was like, okay. I was like, that was just so random to me. And
I agree. So Joe, let's talk about the music. I think the segue about riff is a good segue into that. Did you have a soundtrack, or like what are your thoughts on it, man?
No, I think it's great. I go back to the sound effects editing for the opening, for the change when he walks out and he walks out in his dashiki, and then in 1989 you give me the anthem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like a snippet. You give me the anthem. Okay. You give me Welcome to the Jungle. All right.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. It's just a year or two after it was like on top of the charts, but it's still right there in our heads.
Yeah.
You give me actually it was like right around after GNR Lies. You give me here's the 89 Joe coming out.
I love it, Joe. I love it.
Yeah. Hello, Miles Gunter, my man. But you give me Welcome to the Jungle.
Oh yeah.
Which is so interesting because it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was at a black school, right? All right, okay. That song is for any any place
Yeah.
that where there is oppression and where there is blight and where there are things out of people's control and where things have just gotten out of hand. That song is for like Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah.
We got fun and games. We got everything you want, and that's what he's handing out the bullets and the guns.
Yeah.
you know the names,
and actually tries it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the whole point being, I just love the use of music in that. Lean on Me. It's so interesting too because it's not really a musical, but it's got some interesting musical moments. This film does. I'm talking about like the live music where they just start singing and where he comes up to Miss Roberts and he's holding on to Miss Roberts before the test, and they're swaying together. Yeah, or when he claps because it's not unlike his character in Glory, which is like the same just the next year. But I thought that they used music well throughout, but it wasn't overpowering or anything like that. And I'll leave room for riff and and everything else after that. And the use of Lean on Me.
Yeah.
Yes.
But notably not the Bill Withers
from Cooley High.
Right.
So yeah. Well, Cooley High has a sordid history here amongst us on the Open Tabs podcast.
I can't stand Cooley.
I'm sorry. Can I circle back real quick on a little thing in pet peeve?
I hate Cooley.
Sure.
It was that toward the ending scene, when all the students out there protesting at, I guess, the city hall or whatever. Why was the mayor at the school board meeting? Because the Mrs. Barrett is getting mad. I told you not to bring him out here. How did Ms. Bias pull up in the middle of the crowd? There's so many questions about that. Like she just rolls up behind a police van.
Because it's something my brother always says. Because it's a movie, Joe.
Yes, because let's not forget this part. I apologize for backtracking here, but when he's getting mad at her for something the students are doing at 7 p.m., I left you in charge. Like, sir, it's like well after 3 o'clock.
Again, a horrible human being. A horrible human being.
Yeah. Joe Clark was not. And they actually made him nicer than what he really was.
Yeah,
but
yes, they did.
Yeah. Back to the music real quick, man. I do want to mention like the song "I Ain't Making It" while they're taking the practice test. I just man, like I
sound effects editing was good.
It was perfect.
It was
perfect, man.
Strong needle drops.
just the strongest needle drops in this movie, man. And like it was just a perfect a montage and all this kind of thing, and I thought it was great.
You know what that reminded me of? Remember the scene in Wall Street when Bud has a bad day, and it's like this emo. Oh gosh, this music like doom 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 doom.
Yeah,
it's just everything. Nothing's going.
Yeah.
It's just a downbeat, and it's just like you can feel it, like everything's crashing, and the sun's going down, and I think they darken the room and then put the light on old Buddy Boy, it's like. But Mr. Gecko's office on line one. Like, okay.
Yeah,
it's like you could just tell the use of music there. It's like, okay, we're gonna show you that we're beyond hope right now.
Yep. It makes a huge difference. Man. And then like I guess this is where we can talk about riff. Like I don't know, Joe. So, Joe, did you guys have anything like a men's ensemble or a group of guys that was sing, what I'm trying to think of, like in the office, like Broccoli Rob and all those, like anything like that at all?
At church they tried to do a little quartet. At church, but not. I mean, I went to Lake Hill was white, so we didn't have anything like Broccoli Rob, and Andy Bernard. What were they called? At Cornell. I can't. It'd be something Tones.
Yeah,
I'm thinking maybe I was thinking something else. But we didn't. I didn't have that. It's funny you say that because that was also a film that was robbed, by the way, in 2011 for Best Picture. That was also dramatized in The Social Network because they had the a cappella group. They had the acapella groups. They were singing when they saw Facebook. They were at a concert. They were at a concert in this expansive hall somewhere at Harvard. And and they're listening to these guys sing "I Swear."
Yeah.
It's the same general. It's the same general. Here comes trouble.
Here comes trouble. Yeah,
Here
I was
comes.
about to say.
I didn't have to look it up. I just kind of, if I kept
Yeah.
talking, it was going to come to me. Here comes
Yeah.
trouble, and it's the
Yeah.
same general concept. But no, we
Yeah.
didn't have that.
Okay, Chris, did you guys have anything like that?
No, I mean, my high school, which why this movie is near and dear to me as well, furthermore, because my high school, the state actually threatened to take over 3 out of the 4 years I was there. Oddly enough, Alabama, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We were on academic alert my freshman year, and then our PTA president called the state's bluff because they're like, "We're going to take over, test scores don't improve, blah blah blah." And he said, "No, you won't." Even as a student, I was like, "No, y'all won't, because y'all don't want these problems. You don't know how to solve it either." So then they said, "Well, you made sufficient progress," so they created this new category called academic alert 2.
Okay.
And so they said, "Okay, now if you don't improve from that year, we'll take over." By my senior year, we were on academic caution, so as well, there's a whole other story of that. But yeah, but like schools like that, we had a magnet program at my high school, and so we all have a mutual friend who explains how in schools like that, the schools are compartmentalized. Where
Westlake was very much like that.
You have a magnet program where it's like, these are the kids they basically track.
They got a chance.
These are the kids that are going to, they have a chance, or we expect them to make it. Other 85%, y'all just go over here. We're going to fulfill our state. Yes, we're going to fulfill our state-based obligation to make you sit in a classroom from 8 to 3. But that's why this particular movie really resonated with me.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, we had at my middle school, we had a group like that, the men's ensemble. That
men's ensemble. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So of course, at my high school, I realized I didn't get to the main question. So of course, at my high school, I don't think I have to explain the demographic of it now. We had a gospel choir. But not quite a full-fledged men's ensemble. But we did have a gospel choir.
Nice. Okay. Well, my one of my best friends growing up is Guy Richard, who listens to our show very frequently. Shout out to Richard Sanders. One of my favorite people. He was a member of the men's ensemble. I used to hate those guys, man. Like in middle school, because the girls liked them. I was in my little incel middle school phase. They would be singing like "End of the Road" and whatever shy song was very popular with the young ladies. And so when I saw Riff in this rewatch show, I was just thinking, man, yeah, those same little Jerry Curl guys are the same popular dudes from my middle school that I had a lot of probably unwarranted jealousy for. But Riff never really did much after that, did they, Joe? Yeah, I didn't think so. You're muted.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so. So I was reading Ebert. Yeah.
Which
I want to share the last paragraph of what he wrote.
Yeah, go ahead, because I want to kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So he says he mentions the principal. A couple of years ago, I gave a good review to the principal, a film starring James Belushi as a tough high school principal who took a baseball bat to the drug dealers. Why did I like that movie more than Lean on Me? Both movies are well made and well acted, but the principal is more honest about its real intentions. It's an action drama depending on violence, comedy, and a showdown to get its job done. Lean on Me wants to be taken as a serious, even noble film about an admirable man. See, he just didn't understand.
Yeah, he was way wrong.
And he just does not understand the cultural difference here. And yet it never honestly looks at Clark for what he really is. Listen to this. A grown-up example of the very troublemakers he hates so much. Still unable, even in adulthood, to doubt his right to do what he wants, when he wants, as he wants. How could he teach when he's unteachable? His values have little to do with learning how to learn. That was pretty. Wow. That was pretty strong.
Can you get any more
Roger Ebert?
Right.
That was pretty strong, Roger Ebert there.
Man, I mean, look, if you're talking down anymore to us, it would be, that's amazing, especially considering, who he was married to. But I digress.
Maybe 1989, he wasn't.
Sure. That's a good point.
Yeah.
He came a long way. I want to give you a
shout
big,
out to 89, by the way.
yeah. Another number, another summer.
Another summer.
Hey, I want to give you, Joe, like the catch of the day for Johnny Roast Beef. Man, so I've been going through his IMDb / Wikipedia page since you mentioned
amazing.
him.
It's amazing.
And
He's
dude,
from The Office.
From The Office, The Natural,
Yeah, The
Last
Natural.
Dragon.
Yeah.
Who's that girl?
He is we don't do that guy, but he is that guy.
Uncle Buck. He's Pooter the Clown. Put it there, pal.
I forgot about that.
And he's Miller's Crossing, The Bodyguard. I mean,
remember The Bodyguard, of course, The Bodyguard.
Dude, and every time I'm looking at one of these things, I'm like, yeah, I remember. And it's wow. He was in so many things and acted for he was in Black Dynamite. I think he is. Let's go back to the top of this page. Yeah, he's still alive. Wow. He's still alive. He was Dumb and Dumber, Black Dynamite.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. Yeah.
And it's just the list goes on, and great TV shows too. Spencer for Hire and A Man Called Hawk.
Of course.
Like he did the double play.
Spencer.
Man, so great catch on that one, man. Great. That's
yeah. And play Johnny Roast Beef and good. You looking at him. I'm the Midnight Commandant.
The Midnight Commandant.
I just give the key to Tommy D, you know.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
He comes in, he does his thing, he steals some money. The Lufthansa heist.
The Lufthansa heist at Idlewild Airport, not
JFK.
Not JFK.
Yeah, not JFK. No.
So Chris, any parting words? Any last thing you want to say about this film?
So one thing I do want to give, aside from that personal touch where I digress as opposed to initially answering your initial question about quartets, but since this was near and dear to me from my high school, I got to give a little something to the Sealy Collective. A young Sealy. I don't know if y'all can see that where I was a snare drum player in the Mighty Sounds of the South marching band. K.L. Johnson High School. That's a little something for the Sealy Collective.
Who stay winning?
Yes, sir.
And if these are closing remarks, I want to give a very special thank you, shout out to my gracious host, Davey and Lorna. They always let me overstay my welcome here in the beautiful state of Hawaii. And
that's where you are.
Yes, they were waiting on me, and they allowed me to have a little break to come record with you all. But I'm thankful to them for allowing me to just have a beautiful rest here as we just only approached the early evening hour as opposed to
so 7 out. It's only
the golden hour.
It's only 7 out there. So
yes. Joe,
lead on me. Outstanding film. Still resonates with me 36 years later. I still love it. I still enjoy it. I still am finding my place on the floor next to my cousins as all my aunts and parents are sitting in chairs and couches, and we're just all laid out on the floor, watching on the pallets, watching this film over and over again. And now, working in higher education and having gone to several schools of differing, of different socioeconomic levels and different, all that kind of stuff, just different levels of this is a good school or a bad school. Having been in a lot of those schools, God bless the teachers. That's what I want. I want to end that with God bless the teachers, all the educators who do this selfless work on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yes. That's a great way to end it. So guys, you can pick us up on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're everywhere. Spotify has video now. So, I kind of don't like the fact that it defaults to video because like when I'm listening to my other podcasts, and I just kind of want to listen. But that being said, it does default to the video. And if you want to see the beautiful surroundings that Chris is in, or my dashiki or Joe's background, what have you, please make sure you give us a view, a like, a response, anything. Let us know you're out there. We appreciate each and every one of you guys, our faithful watchers and listeners of the Open Tabs podcast. We will be back in the very, very short near future to discuss another film. But in the meantime, in between time, thank you guys who have made it this far. listening at 1.5 times speed or what have you. We are the Open Tabs Podcast, and we appreciate you. We are out.